This is The Art of Startup War, and I am your sensei, Brian McMahon. Now, in Season 1 and 2, I got inside the minds of startup investors. In Season 3, I brought in entrepreneurs to share their startup journey. Here, in Season 4, we combine both, so you can hear investors critique the investment value proposition of individual companies. You're going to hear how investors make decisions to invest in startups, what makes a great entrepreneur, and how billion-dollar companies are built. So tune in every Tuesday, 10 a.m. on all the major platforms. You can empower your tribe by sharing the podcast, and remember to subscribe, rate, review, and leave us a comment. Good morning. It's Tuesday morning. It's 10 o'clock. Brian is here. It is another day in the fridge. And today I got a real treat for you. I have not only a product which I think could revolutionize the way healthcare is thought of and acted upon by you, the listener, but also an incredible exited entrepreneur who's had phenomenal success in the past. Ken Rosenblood, welcome.
Good morning.
Welcome. ObVus Solutions. So today we're going to talk about, this is going to be great because we're going to talk about not only, and in the light of Headspace being really successful and becoming a unicorn. I was checking on the unicorns today and I saw Cam, or another unicorn in the mindset and the healthcare space. Like, it's a really hot space right now. So we're going to look at that, and we're going to look at ObVus Solutions and the very first product that you have in there. But I also want to speak, I suppose, before that, a little bit about your background as an entrepreneur, because you have been an entrepreneur since the beginning of time.
Yes, I have. I'm 56. It's hard to believe. I have a 20-year-old and an 18-year-old on Saturday. But it really started with my grandfather, who was an entrepreneur himself and an inventor, and I guess gave me the balls, as they say, or the wherewithal to say, why don't I make this better?
When was this?
Oh my goodness! Well, my grandfather, he moved to California and invented the automatic baseball pitching machine just after World War II.
No way! There's a random fact for everybody listening. Anybody who's out there, like in the middle of the pitch, and you're thinking, "Man, this was a great machine. I'm just smacking balls all day." That was your granddad?
That was my grandfather. The iron mic with the arm that came up, and you could adjust it to curve and different velocities.
Did he patent that?
He did not. He was never a lover of lawyers, and it's one of the few businesses that he didn't. One of the only businesses that he didn't make money in, because they were leather baseballs, and my grandmother was sitting in the booth and the kids would put in a quarter and walk away with 10 baseballs. So he shut that down and went into the TV antenna business that was greatly successful.
Wow. And so you must, by the way, isn't it a treat? Aren't we so lucky when we have parents or grandparents who are entrepreneurs and they rear us like that? I'm so appreciative of just the fact that I was surrounded by entrepreneurs, and I suppose it's played a lot into your success as well.
Absolutely. My grandfather, I was raised in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. I had a grandmother who was a businesswoman in the 60s and 70s, which was really made her an outlier and a respected person. And then my grandfather, who lived here in California, who I used to come and visit. And at 5 years old, I would be in the factory. I would be in the shipping department, putting logos on speakers, putting the light bulbs in psychedelic lights. It was just fantastic exposure. I don't think it was anything patent on their part to say we're going to raise an entrepreneur or we're going to raise a business person. Here is a person in the family. Let's go to work. I'll show you what we do.
It's just what defined them.
Yeah.
But and for everybody listening, notice the very first question I asked was about the patent. If you're going to create something incredible, which is truly going to revolutionize something, back then it wasn't so obvious, but today there's no excuse for you guys making sure that you're not protected there.
Yes.
So take me to your first business. How did it start? And I don't want to just go to the success straight away. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people look at entrepreneurship and they see the glamorous side of it. They see the Facebook, the Snapchat, the I'm $1 billion company, but they don't understand that it is a fucking grind to get there. And in the early days, you go through hell from that first moment. And then at the end of it, like when you got the nice house and you got the nice car and everybody thinks you're great, you don't quite remember as much how tough it was, but in the moment, it's tough.
Correct. And it's not just about the financial. The first product that was mine, and I did patent, I was educated as a lawyer. I went to Southwestern, scale program, went through law school in 2 years. They train you to go out and set up your business, which I thought as an entrepreneur, I didn't know I was an entrepreneur at the time. And, I made it rain. We had lots of clients. It was terrific, but I hated being a lawyer.
Yeah, understandable.
But 0.25 of an hour at a time, baby. If you can do it,
There's
go for it.
There's more jokes made about attorneys not existing anymore than
yes.
Yeah. I get it. But it's a great grounding, right? As a foundation to start a business.
Marines
no
for the
better.
mind. Marines for the mind. So good for me because I was definitely undisciplined as pre-25 years old. But while I was studying for the bar, the California bar, all I did was ride my bike, play tennis, and study. And while playing tennis, this is 1986, John McEnroe is all the rage, and he's wearing Nike 3/4 cut cross trainers.
Right.
So I go out and I buy them. Great shoes, terrific with the Velcro strap across the ankle, high, but they come undone. Crappy laces coming undone all the time. And I'm living with my grandparents. I'm studying for the bar. And I go home and I take my underwear. I put it in my grandfather's paper cutter. And I cut out the elastic band, strip it, make it thin. And I put it in the eyelets of my shoe. And I have elastic shoelaces.
Amazing.
Don't want to tie it in a knot at first. But I'm thinking, how can I make a lock for this?
Actually, not amazing.
Just
normal.
Common sense.
It's just everybody else is the opposite. What happens is we go through our days, like all you're talking about is actually having your eyes open to a major problem. Rather than just accepting how things are, you find something, you realize that it's something that could become much better, and then you go about fixing it.
I think I just didn't want to study.
No. I don't even want to take the point off this because it's such a distinct way of thinking that is the difference between phenomenal entrepreneurs who execute and people who just think life is so unfair. Go on. You made elastic shoelaces.
So we made elastic shoelaces. We patented the lock around that so that when you pull the elastic, it gets thinner and it goes into opposing teeth. And when you let it go, it gets thick, so it's locked.
And then what happened? How did you launch?
Went to the MBA, went to Walmart, went to Foot Locker, told the MBA I had Foot Locker and Walmart, told Walmart I had the MBA,
Beautiful.
got the license on the
hustled.
front, got all the teams, got hustled. And the next thing
How did you go to the MBA?
It was when
knock on their door?
I called them in New York, and this is when licensing was in its infancy, and they didn't know what to do. The Reebok pump was the hot shoe on the tongue.
How did you even get someone to take your call?
Just kept calling and calling. Very,
I love that.
Very guerrilla.
I love that. Like
guerrilla.
Proper stalking.
Yeah, stalking. I mean, I was a guerrilla. I read guerrilla marketing in 1988 or 87, whatever it was, and you just kept calling and said, "Look, I've got this."
This is why I like you, because you're a beast.
Yes.
This can't be like everybody talks about these wonderful growth hacks where we're going to put an algorithm online and it's going to catch fire. God bless all of you. You are dreaming. It happens one in a gazillion times. You know who works every single day? Glengarry Glen Ross.
Yeah.
Right? You go there. I don't mean you have to hold up a pair of brass balls.
Right.
But I do mean that you call and call and call and call. Not the same message with the same result, but different messages to trying to get a different result over a period of time because you know your product is right. Well done. I don't want to spend too long on this, but
a tenacious gorilla.
I want to take it as point number 2. Point number 1 today, patents. Point number 2, be a tenacious gorilla. Go on.
Tenacity. Absolutely. Yeah. So off we go with that. It's very, very successful. I got offered a job from Rob Strasser he had left Nike and gone to, I think it was Avia in Portland. Didn't want to do that. Had a partner in the law office who was also a partner in the elastic. They were called the energy lay system. And by the way, it wasn't about the big house. The most gratifying moment for me was UPS drivers loved these laces. They wear those boots, they put them in their boots, and I'm driving in my car, and this is after we sold the underlying IP and sold the company, and I broke up with the patent, put a little coin in my pocket. I looked to my right, and I saw the UPS driver, and his feet are level with my eyes, and he's wearing my laces.
Beautiful. It's never about that. But by the way, for most entrepreneurs, for no great entrepreneurs, it's not about the money at the start. The money's fine at the end. It's payment for the dues that were put in, but it's about the change that you can bring to the world, and it's about looking at something and say, I did that.
Yes.
which is beautiful.
And I
so
was
did you
right.
make a lot of money from this?
I made $500,000.
Beautiful. How old were you?
28.
Yeah, nice. Okay, cool. So then what did you do? Did you sell it or
I sold it to a company from New Zealand who fumbled terribly, and
how did you find them?
they found me.
How did they find you?
We used to go to two shows, the NSGA, the National Sporting Goods Association, and I forgot the name of the other one. One was in Chicago and one was in Atlanta, and they walked into the trade show booth and
But
said,
again, you were hustling. It's not that you got lucky and you were sitting at home behind your computer and had never left the house, and then somebody magically found you because the world wanted you to have a better time. No, it was that you were at these shows, you were out there, you were in front of people all the time.
Yes.
You were making sure that your laces were going to be something, and then they saw it like they will do. Like the more you do something, the better the opportunity getting it through. Wonderful. And how did it feel when you got that check for $500,000?
Oh, it was fantastic. I shut down the law office. I went to Turks and Caicos. I came home. I planted a tomato garden. I thought about going to be a teacher for a while.
Yeah.
And then the next opportunity walked in the form of my next door neighbor who was actually starting a new business, and he was a client. And he said, I'm a consultant. I've joined this dentist and his friend, and they want to bring tooth whitening to the world. Can you set up the buy-sell agreement? And
It'll never work, right?
It'll start. Well, dentists told them. I mean, I always reckon back to Benny Hill, the little guy that he used to slap on the head and say, no, silly man. And tooth whitening. And this is 1990. And he said to me, hey, you're a really good businessman. I love what you did with the laces. You understand things. Will you move your office, which I wasn't running, into my office when they signed their first lease? And 15 years later, that company, which had $0 in revenue, had $200 million in revenue.
So slow it down. Bring me back, right?
Okay.
Teeth whitening. It makes sense.
Yes.
So if you say, I'm going to do teeth whitening, but back in those days, it wasn't a thing.
No, it was not.
So you were going into a space where it's not that you were disrupting, but you were having to re-educate an entire industry of the importance of something that nobody realized was something that they could sell or work with or need. How did you do that at the start? Like going from, I want to just rewind back a little bit because this is tremendously important. The first company I love, it's pure hustle and finding an idea that needed fixing. The next company, this is way more complicated. Going from $0 to $200 million in sales is huge.
Yes.
So you started out, you have the idea of whitening. What was the general principle about why it was important?
It was important because I guess we were entering into a new stage from a societal standpoint in that people were very honest and out there about, I want to look better. It was an extension of the exercise or the jogging phase, and it wasn't my idea. It was a dentist in Century City by the name of Dr. Bill Dorfman, and he realized my movie stars want to get who he was treating want to get their teeth white. A lot of people want to get their teeth white.
Yeah.
But when we first, and it tasted like crap, the gel that he was using, and it was in a poly bag, and his patients looked like junkies going down the elevator, and he was getting $1,500 per syringe of this stuff or per whitening treatment, and it tasted terrible. It had a negative connotation with its packaging, and he came in and said, how do we fix this? And that's where Robert and myself ultimately came in and said, okay, we're going to build this. But to your point, we went to dentists. Show me a dentist. I'll show you normally someone that did not get into med school. So you got to call them doctor. So you go to the dentist and you say, harsh. It's harsh. Lovely people, love them dearly, doctor. But when we went to them initially, and it's the innovator's dilemma, or the adoption curve of new technology, and there's the early majority, and there's the people that really jump on early, which are your early adopters, and there's the trailing majority. And let's say the trailing majority in dentistry was probably at about 55%, that when you went to them and said, hey, doctor, I've got something that can change your practice. I've got something for the first time you can say, my patients want this.
Right.
And 55% of them would look and say, my patients don't want white teeth.
Yeah.
My patients want needles that don't hurt. I'll tell you what, I'll give you an injection right now. I'll load it up with sugar water, with sucrose. You won't even feel my needles. They're so good. So the dentists themselves had kind of lost sight of the forest for the tree.
Right.
And then there were the early adopters, the Dr. Bill Dorfmans, the other doctors in Dallas and Plano and Palm Beach and New York on Park Avenue that said, you know what, they're right. My patients do want white teeth. And it took off from there. There was Vanna White at the same time on
Did you
television.
raise money?
We did not raise money.
How did you do that? So you built a company. By the way, everybody listens to this podcast because people are raising money, and it's to get an idea of raising money. But I love when I have an interview, which is about actually how you build an amazing business without raising money, just by actually making sure that you have the product fit right and that you can drive really strong marketing. Did you think about raising money?
No. Credit cards.
Just credit. Were you married back then?
I was not married.
Oh, that explains a lot.
Yes. So
how much did you run your cards up to?
Oh my goodness, Robert and Bill, who were the principals, into the tens of thousands. What I think at one point $80,000.
Oh man!
And I put it this way: I remember going on.
Did you have a moment where you thought, "What have I done?" Or
Yes.
did you ever waver?
It's so funny that you asked that. I remember going on a trip, and we didn't know where we were going to sell tooth whitening. We knew people wanted it. Should we be OTC, over the counter? Should we be through the dentist? Should we sell through? There's a company called Henry Schein and another company called Patterson, and at the time another company called Sullivan. These are the Walmarts for dentists. There's only one now, or two, but they sell all the products. They're dealers. And I remember going to the dealer, Henry Schein, and saying, we've got this great product. And we had sent them samples. And when we left the meeting, we asked for the samples back because we needed them. And we had sent them a big box of samples, and they said no. And at that point, I said, oh my God, we need our samples. But at the end of the day, they did us the greatest favor by saying this will not catch on. And they forced us to go direct to the dentist, which was unheard of in those days. Everything was bought through these dealers who made a 30 to 40% or 50% margin by buying from manufacturers.
Because they didn't think they could sell it.
They didn't think they could sell it.
You never thought they were right?
Never thought they were right. Knew they were wrong instantly, and they did us the greatest favor because when you go direct to your customer, there's that margin. And then there was the educational component, which has been the key to the success of training a dentist and their staff or any practice-based healthcare professional. This is how you insert something new into your armamentarium.
So you went straight. I love it. We managed to bring armamentarium into the conversation.
That's what it's all about.
First thing in the morning.
That's what it's all about. What he has, right, in the arrows in his or her quiver to offer to their patient, and sometimes they don't see it. So it became about continuing education, teaching them how to sell whitening, teaching them how to make a tray, teaching them how to.
And what did you do though? Did you go from like one dentist to the next? Were you literally standing at the front door like Glengarry Glen Ross, going from building to building to building to try and get a dentist to come on board with you?
Telephone calls. It was very much telemarketing driven. It was very much Dr. Dorfman himself out there pounding the pavement, putting on continuing education programs with different dental societies. Doctors and dentists and all professionals have to go for continuing education, and they're bored out of their minds. I mean, I don't know if they'll admit it, but honest ones will say it's the worst day of the year.
Yeah, they have to do their hours. They feel it's a total waste of time. So you
but when
incorporated...
when they walk in and they learn something that can make their patients happy, put a shekel in their pocket and make a difference in their reputation, that they're cutting edge, they're on the forefront of this, it just starts to build on itself.
So my favorite, this is also, we're going to talk about ObVus solutions in a couple of minutes, but I love non-friction based disruption the most. Full friction-based disruption is terribly hard. So trying to go in there and work within health. I remember we had a company that was trying to work within healthcare to streamline the insurance process, but it's full of friction because the insurance companies don't want to streamline the insurance process. They're very happy with how things are. But I love the fact that your message is so simple to dentists. Would you like to make extra money? Would you like to do something that's extremely simple to do? And would you like your patients to like you more afterwards and look more beautiful because of what you've done? So actually, we're not going to ask you about your ego, but your ego is going to feel pretty damn good because your teeth going to shine better than anybody else out there. So, okay, do you remember your first sale?
I don't think I was there for that. I'm sure that Robert and Bill do. I remember I did not go to the first show, but I remember them calling back. And I remember over the telephone, because we couldn't afford for everyone to go, right? It was the 10 by 10 booth type of thing.
You keep mentioning shows. Do you still believe that shows are a big part of the development of a company?
Huge, especially if you intend to be disruptive. And now I'm a little wiser, so I say I'm a changer of ceremony, not a disruptor.
Yeah.
But absolutely, when you're demonstrating something that is, let's say, revolutionary, you have to face the people. You have to demonstrate for them. The first time around to get in dentistry, if there's 100,000 dental offices in the United States, those early adopters represented 5,000 dentists. You had to get in those 5,000 dental practices' faces and show them what you could do.
Yeah, makes total sense. Okay, so you brought the company forward, first $1 million in revenue.
Mm-hmm.
How long from the beginning to that moment?
Year and a half.
Very strong.
Very strong. And then
Yes.
it really
Wow.
grew. It really grew. It exploded. One of the issues with tooth whitening, and many millions of people have done it now, is sensitivity.
You haven't mentioned the name of the company.
Discus Dental.
Okay.
First product, Night White.
Amazing.
Then Day White. Zoom. Acquired Bright Smile. But we leveraged that distribution channel and that privity of customer being direct that the dealers forced us into. And we leveraged that distribution channel. And as we saw other opportunities to improve, and I don't want to say disrupt, but really improve upon,
Beautiful.
we did it. So for example, you've all had a crown and bridge procedure and you have to bite into that gushy stuff called impression material.
I've been there.
It tastes like what?
It's not good, right?
It's not good. And it sets
Swamp
in
water.
4 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Why? And we asked why. And we were told, oh, the saliva gets generated if you put a flavor in there. But I said, it's already in your mouth by the time you smell it and your taste buds react. And why is it 4 minutes and 30 seconds? And the answer was because that's what we've always done. Halftime flavored impression material.
I like it. So I want to go to ObVus Solutions, but before I do, I would like the top 5 things that you did in this business to actually make it successful. And I know you need to think about this because this is a conversation. None of these are prepared questions. When I have somebody here with me who's taken a company from zero to $1 million within a year, first, hats off, respect, right?
Yes.
You take it from $1 million to $200 million, that is the ultimate American dream. So list in no particular order the reasons why you were successful and maybe throw a few other points in there about some of the things you would have done differently if you had to do it again.
I mentioned one, and that's that privity with our customer and controlling the relationship with the customer, because we had to teach dentists how to market. They say, I'm not a salesperson. So we say, well, there's people that work for you that can help. And we took over their waiting rooms and taught them how to message and how to deliver. We're here. We can make your teeth white. And
so you're also speaking to content marketing and educational marketing when you mention this as well,
correct.
Right? Very good.
And not saying it's our company, Discus Dental, that's bringing you whitening. It's Dr. Smith.
No, you're beautiful.
It's Dr. Jones,
it's
right?
Beautiful. I get it.
We're standing behind them. So
I get it. And not enough people do this. Everybody out there these days thinks, oh, let's throw a bunch of Facebook ads out there. No, you have to educate people as to why your brand is so incredibly important, even if they don't know the name of your brand, even though they think the brand is the dentist brand.
100% correct. And my partner, Robert, at the time was brilliant. And he always said, brand equals margin. Don't forget it. Yeah. Brand equals margin.
Beautiful. I like him already.
Yeah. No,
number two.
So brand is privity. Brand is margin. I think that number 3 would probably be vertical integration.
I'll talk a bit more about that.
So we really controlled our destiny. Originally, nothing was done in-house. At the end of the day, we ended up producing 22 million syringes a year filled with whitening gel from a planetary mixer that pulls a vacuum that we had created the gel in. We had filled the syringes. We had hot stamped the syringes. We had filled the boxes on conveyor belts and lines, and we're shipping 2,300 individual orders a day to dentists all over the United States. So that vertical integration gave us margin. It gave us more importantly, when you're a small company and you're relying on other vendors to deliver, and let's say you're missing the plunger in a syringe or the tip on a syringe, you can't ship it without it. You got 9/10 of the recipe there and you're missing 1/10, you're out of business. So we learned very early Don't rely on anybody. Control everything that you can control. That's
Amazing.
right out of Covey.
Beautiful.
So vertical integration.
Trust nobody.
Trust no one. I remember watching Andy Grove on.
I love this. It sounds so wrong, but it's so right.
Andy Grove on Charlie Rose. I mean, Charlie Rose put me to sleep for 25 years, right? Or engaged me till 1 a.m. He said, "What's the number one thing, Andy?" He said, "Paranoia. Paranoia drives me." And I remember saying, oh my goodness, he's right.
Yeah.
He's right. But, not paranoia that they're out to get me.
Paranoia is good. Paranoia is good.
Don't
Don't even move it away from that. Paranoia is good.
Yes.
Every single thing that's going to happen today is going to fail. And I have to make sure I got a plan B, C, D, E, F, and G. Or more importantly, that I just control it.
Yep.
I love that. Number 4.
Sales is going through my mind, and I think about our sales floor over those years and how vigilant we were.
ABC. Always be closing.
Always be
like
closing.
I started this with Glenn Ross.
Yeah.
I'm sticking with it.
Yes. Always be closing. Great sales staff. Great education. Who they went out and, when you're talking to a doctor, it's really tough. Medical reps, dental reps, that doctor's had a bad day. He or she wants to show you that they're smarter. They want to crap on you. And here you are, you're coming in and you don't have an MD, you don't have a DDS, and you're going to tell them something new?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That takes to be armed, to be knowledgeable, to be confident. So really all about sales, because that 50%.
So you're combining two things in there. You're combining, number one, coffees for closers.
Yes.
And then you're also combining in there, really know your product.
Yes.
So you can't just go in there and wing it and just do a lot of sales and a lot of phone calls and hope you're going to get there. Really understand your product, and more importantly, really understand all of the implications on your product into whoever or whatever company it is you're selling it to.
Yes.
I love it. What's the next one?
This is my rifle. This is my rifle. This is my gun.
Yes.
So after sales, I would say, especially from my perspective, always listening, always out there, always empathizing with your customer. And it's much overused, but it goes to the impression material thing, right? And the person sitting in the chair and they've got this stuff in their mouth for 4 minutes and 30 seconds and it tastes like sawdust, etc. So looking at saying, well, how can I change that experience? But the same for the dentist. I've got to tell you, over the 15 years of Discus, I would receive on average at least a call a day, some days more, but 5 calls a week from dentists or from tinkerers that were working in their garage, and they would say, I've solved a problem.
Yeah.
And you have to listen. You have to listen to the guy in the garage and say, okay, or you have to listen to the scientist, to the PhD that's working in a lab at UCLA or San Francisco State or wherever it is, who say, I've solved the problem. We'll say, okay, how do we build that? How do we deliver that message to change that ceremony in this area and solve that problem?
I love it. So continually listening. Perfect. Did the company sell, or what happened?
The company sold, as what happens with many, many companies, and I have to be careful here because I'm under certain non-disclosure. Well, I guess they're all.
Is the information of the sale publicly available or no?
No, it is not. But right now the company is owned by Philips.
Okay, so
little
people can guess, right? Very large company bought it. The revenue is around $200 million. It got sold for a tremendous amount of money. And this is speaking to investors specifically. Now, I have an entrepreneur here in the fridge in Expert Dojo who is 2 for 2.
Yes.
First one, which is a nice little $500,000, which is beautiful. It's almost nicer to get that check at the beginning as the first check for a company because it feels great. Is it 3 for 3?
It's 3 for 3.
Damn. I was gonna move into a Meatloaf song, 2 out of 3. I can't even do that.
No,
because it's 3 for 3. Tell me the third one very quickly because I want to get to ObVus.
Okay.
And do it. So that was a phenomenal exit, right? By any stretch of the imagination that any investor would want to get into. Tell me the third one in 2 minutes.
So while at Discus, we were very black and white. We were very aesthetic, and I realized that dentistry needs cleaning up. Dental offices are not well organized. They're not well-run businesses. Doctors and dentists don't know the difference between an invoice and a statement. There was a sleepy company in dentistry called Health First that was selling emergency medical kits. Crash carts, essentially, because it's not good when patients die in the waiting room or in the chair or they go into anaphylaxis.
Bad PR.
So we bought the 2 companies in the United States. I took a Fortune 300 customer or partner, Henry Schein, And we went out and we bought two companies, one called Health First, one called Banyan, that both had been spraying and praying emergency medical kits to doctors, dentists, crash carts, and what's on the airline.
Right.
I put everything in those kits expire. Yet these companies were not picking up on the expired drugs. And if you phoned a dental office or a doctor's office, the drugs were expired. So even if you had a stroke there, there'd be a problem. We put all the information in the cloud, created a what we called the refill system, got the doctors to have the right medications, the AEDs, the batteries, the pads, everything working. And as they expired, we shipped them out, all in the cloud. So everyone signed up for the recurring revenue. We took the responsibility. The right drug was there at the right time. Then we did reverse distribution, taking the drugs back, charging them for proper disposal,
Right.
giving them a manifest of destruction. And
And
we
what
ended
happened?
up with a complete, in 4 years, we went from 1.5 million EBITDA to $16 million EBITDA.
Wow.
Working with a Fortune 300 company was not my cup of tea. And I exited it and made a
Now
lot.
you're going to make me do it again. Tell me
Yeah.
the top. Did you do anything different or anything additional in that company you hadn't done in the previous company to help with the success? Because now you're talking about EBITDA, right? For all of you tech companies out there who are unicorns who have never heard of EBITDA, it actually means making money. I know. It's a crazy concept, not losing billions of dollars a year. You guys should try it sometime. It actually was what made America great in the first place. And the fact that nobody else is focusing on it is destroying us as a country. So I love that you've mentioned EBITDA. I love that you've mentioned profitability. And I love that you mentioned the growth in profitability as you actually brought the business up. And I'm guessing, again, you didn't raise any money.
Nothing.
You did it all yourself, okay?
I took money from Discus, poured it into that. Couldn't take down both those companies myself, so I took in a partner. But what was interesting, what I learned at Discus was about proprietary products, the razor blade, handle, film, camera model, with the zoom lamp, the chair whitening. You couldn't turn on the zoom lamp without buying our disposable, which we made a 93% margin on, which was very nice. But when we went into Health First, it was a service.
Yeah.
Right? We were taking the liability. We were making sure that the drugs and the batteries and the AED pads were there at the proper time and disposing of it for them. And the service element of tying into a SaaS model where they came to us, and services are harder because if your service is broken, people quit, period. But the upside is every month, every year, if you're doing it right, it's automatic.
Beautiful.
And that was a beautiful system. So I combined the proprietary with the recurring and with the very strong subscription. And, doctors stayed at Health First and Banyan for their entire careers.
You did. So again, a beautiful exit there as well. So anybody listening to this would not be surprised for me to say, Expert Dojo are absolutely going to get massively involved with you on the next one. It's like 3 for 3. I'll take that any day of the week. Nobody has that. And your next solution, your next company is maybe even the most audacious one you ever had.
Absolutely.
Because previously you were working for really important products, really important solutions within specific areas of people's health. You are now looking to solve their entire healthcare problems from, I would suppose, starting from the posture perspective, right?
Yes.
So I want to go here, and I would like to speak a little bit. Again, you did the same thing you've always done. You put a lot of your own money directly into this company.
Correct.
You haven't gone for any outside funding yet.
Correct.
I'm going to be working with you on the outside funding. I personally, based on the background and most people listening, I can't imagine there'll be a tremendous amount of difficulty. You're absolutely proven. But I love the space. And actually, as we've moved from the third company to the fourth company, I immediately changed my posture. Did you notice that?
Yes,
I was leaning against
Yeah.
leaning against Fidge, and I thought, oh shoot, we're going to talk about Minder.
Sit up.
I got to sit up properly. So
Yeah.
talk to us about where this came from and what the product is actually going to do.
Excuse me. It came from while working at Health First in Banyan. 3 weeks before my 50th birthday, there was a pop in the shoulder. put me into the healthcare system. It's your neck, it's your shoulder, it's arthritis, it's a slap tear. Wake up from surgery and the doctor says, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is we didn't have to redo your bicep tendon, so I didn't have to walk around with my arm like Frankenstein for 6 weeks. The bad news is the 2 slap tears in your labrum that we thought were there from the MRI, it's where your labrum, your cartilage, starts and finishes, your bone on bone. And if you don't fix your posture, you're going to be back here for shoulder replacement.
Okay. So I'm dumbing this down for people.
Yes.
Most of us have got really bad posture, right? And it's either because we're looking down on phones, or we're leaning against the side of a podcast fridge, or our head is tilted in the wrong way. And for all those reasons, but we know that having good posture generally helps our health in all areas, right?
Correct.
But we don't know when we have good posture and bad posture because it's habits and it just happens to happen.
Correct.
So it's one thing a doctor's saying to you, fix your posture, make it better. But it's another thing actually focusing on being able to do it.
Correct. I'm a geek, right? I love my computers. I love work. I've been sitting at that desk, law school, hunched over in the kyphotic position, my back like a C, staring at my computer, and I want it. And I went home the next day after surgery, and I went to work, and I said, how am I going to get my shoulders to stick into this chair so that when I go forward, the computer will go off, and it'll be like the screensaver. And what do? We tap on the space bar, or we jiggle the mouse.
Oh, by the way, Vincent, our producer, is listening to this right now, and I know he's saying to himself, a keyboard that works on posture? That's exactly what I'm working on right now. This is like posture is everything.
He's hunched over.
So this because everybody's hunched over.
Right. So I said, how do I condition myself? I found that turning the screen black was very draconian, but it was a journey for me, and I learned that posture is not about Swiss finishing school or the military. It's about supporting posture with the breath.
And I can see you right now, and your posture here is extremely good. Like your back
I'm breathing.
is absolutely straight.
I'm breathing.
Yeah.
And I'm supporting it with the breath, and that none of us from an anthropological...
Screw you, my posture's good now as well.
Yeah, your posture's good too. Well, it used to be in the old days people would cover up their teeth. Now people cover up their teeth and they sit up straight with me. It's classic. But the idea that okay, I love this computer. I'm not giving it up. I am not giving up my work. I'm not giving up my geekdom and the geek that I am. How do I make it work for me and instill in me or inject into my life? Fix your posture. Take a breath. Okay, check in with yourself. And we ended up creating a widget that sits on top of all of your screens, whether it's mobile, iPad, your desktop, your laptop, and I'm not a...
You go to the widget. I actually think of it as a little buddy that you have on your laptop, right? And what happens is your little buddy says to you, hey, Brian, your posture's not right. Can you just fix that, please?
Yes.
And then during the day, it says, hey, Brian, if you just took 5 seconds to do some breathing exercises, it would really help with your stress and with your posture as well.
Correct.
And then later on in the day, it will say, Brian, your stress levels are going up. You need to relax a little bit. Let's throw some good music in here and let's just get you, not necessarily meditating, but focusing on, again, more breathing. And just as you go through in a very gentle, nice way, it's actually telling you how to have the best posture, which means, and by the way, posture is not just about healthcare. It's about aesthetics.
Correct.
So you talk about your teeth.
Yes.
So the movie stars were the early adopters, right,
Yes.
of the teeth.
Yes.
So they're and by the way, anyone listening, we didn't mention it earlier on, but you will always want to watch those early adopters. The early adopters can be a year, 2, 3 years ahead of everybody else. It was the creatives when it came to Apple. They were 5, 10 years ahead. For you, it was the movie stars. But then we all want to be movie stars.
Correct.
With posture, it's the same. We look and feel great when our chest is puffed up, our back is straight, and we're just feeling strong and healthy and powerful, right?
Cortisol drops, the stress hormone. Testosterone increases.
I'm a beast. I can feel myself lifting my belly up right now, and it's become my chest.
Yes.
And I feel great. Okay, so in most podcasts, I spend 5 minutes talking about previous history, and I spent 35 minutes speaking about what's coming up. In this one, I've spent 30 minutes on you, on your previous companies, and I did it on purpose because it's so powerful and it's so different, and I think it speaks to the future success.
Yes.
So I want to get to the mechanics behind why, because everybody gets this now. They get it's a posture device. Minder is the first one. The idea is that you're going to create an entire ecosystem of healthcare products which will just make us healthier, happier, and look and feel better, right?
Correct.
In a way which is very simple and non-invasive, really is what I see kind of all of them to be a part of.
Our two most basic habits are posture and breathing. And we feel if we can help people in a fun, insightful, conditioning way, and there's nothing like showing someone their profile when they're around their laptop and they go, oh, and they sit up straight, but we can't see our profile. So the idea is that this widget, our body clock, sits on top of your screen. It's a bullseye. It's a carpenter's level. And it's a visualization of posture so that when you begin to slouch, the ball moves out of the good zone. It turns yellow. It turns red. It starts to flash.
And sorry, just to interrupt for a second. Mm-hmm. So you have a device which is put on your collar on the back. It's a small little device that's actually getting smaller and smaller. You wouldn't even notice it. Or you could actually have it on your neck where you can take an Apple Watch and you can even put it there. And then that is then recognized as the shape that your body is sitting in.
Correct.
And based on that, that's how your widget on the computer knows what you're doing right or wrong.
Exactly.
Okay?
Imagine a wearable. It's on your wrist. You unscrew it like a lens on a camera. You clip it on the front of your shirt or the back neck at the tag. And all of a sudden, your posture is represented on top of all your other apps with a very small body clock widget, friend as you like to call it, that's telling you, hey, this is where I'm at. It also shows your heart rate. And it's amazing the biofeedback that people get in testing this just from seeing their heart rate all day while they're sitting at their desktop. They go, oh, my heart rate's going up. And unconsciously, they start to calm down. They'll take a breath if they know the tools. So we get to see posture.
But it's also important to point out that accuracy is a tremendously important part of this, because there will be some people out there who are saying, Brian, I got like a Fitbit and I other things. So I kind of know a lot of these things, but they don't.
No.
Because your wrist is not your posture.
Correct.
It doesn't tell. They are inaccurate devices that give you a good feeling, right? So we take nothing away from Fitbit. God bless them. They started something,
yes.
right? But this is about taking something, like you mentioned.
To the next level.
It's the next level.
So the patents that we have are on the visualization of posture, breathing, and the third one on the combination thereof. So visualization of posture. You take your Fitbit or you take your Apple Watch or our device off the wristband, clip it on the shirt. Now, when you move, the ball moves on the screen. It stays in the corner. It stays in the bottom. Wherever you want to keep it, you can move it around. You go into bad posture, it tells you. But now, my journey was, it's not about Swiss finishing school, right? It should be about soft conditioning, just color change. The monitor shouldn't go off. That's all I need. But I need to learn to support it with the breath. But most importantly, I need to take breaks and I need to be reminded. And when I take a break, I do a simple breathing exercise. And we found by gathering the data from the wearable device itself, the accelerometer and the gyroscope, we are the first that when you take a big breath, a balloon on the screen, which is actually your breath, gets bigger.
Beautiful.
And you get the real biofeedback. And we lay into that sounds. So if you like dings and dongs or gongs and chimes, if your inhale is represented by a ding and your exhale by a dong, and you want to breathe at a 4-second cadence in, 6 seconds out, which is the hot new breath right now for heart rate variability, we can configure any of that. You configure it yourself and away you go. And okay, it's at 55 minutes after the hour. I generally my device tells me, our software tells us, it's time to take a break, Kenny. What's the exercise I'm going to do? I'm going to do this breath, this stretch, take a walk, whatever it is. But my plan is delivered to me through the app and the software.
So look, there's two types of people listening to this podcast. There are entrepreneurs who want to get tips and advice on how to grow great businesses, and you guys have had a treat today. And there are investors. And I always say to investors, look, I never sit on a podcast and say that you should invest in something. But what I can tell you is this. If I had known Ken 3 years ago before he started here, and I also look at this, as an investor for Expert Dojo for our accelerator, I would have put a $100,000 check into this in 30 seconds for his pedigree and based on this company and the space it's filling. And I don't know if Headspace or Calm are going to grow much bigger and then they're going to buy Minder, or I don't know if Minder is going to be one of the many products of ObVus Solutions and is going to buy Headspace or Calm, right?
Woo, there's a good one.
But I believe it's going to be big. So we're now at the stage where we have nobody else coming into the venture studio at the end of the year. Nobody. We have no room left. We locked out 4 months ago. And this is the first company that I've turned around to and said, we want to bring it into the venture studio and we want to have Ken as part of it. So I can only show you my intent with this product. And I want to, over the last couple of minutes, I want to speak a little bit to not just Minder and how it's going to grow, because you've done the full development of the product.
Yes, sir.
I want to talk to how you're going to go to the market.
Yes, sir.
I want to talk to how it's going to be different to what you did in the previous products and where you see this company going to in the future.
So 2 years ago, I went to CES in Las Vegas, the Consumer Electronics Show, and I saw 2 aircraft hangars full of wearables, many of them that were really crappy and didn't work. And I said, this is not where I want to be. And at the same time, I was realizing that posture and breathing are kind of the core first steps and great habits. You've got to be aware of what you're doing.
Yes.
To, i.e. mindfulness, to wellness, to the wellness journey. When we received our second patent, and I didn't have to have everyone sign non-disclosure agreements, the first place I went publicly was I sat in at a corporate roundtable at something called the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. These are the folks who believe that the best thing, and they are right, the best thing that we can do for ourselves to solve the healthcare crisis. Life expectancy for the last 3 years in the United States of America has gone down 3 years in a row for the first time in 100 years.
Wow.
And these folks say it's behavior, lifestyle changes, lifestyle hacks, so to speak, that we can do to make to change outcomes, right? That's doctor talk, to outcomes.
So your goal is to lengthen life.
Yes.
It's
And quality of life. Okay? The last 3 years of people's lives are terrible in this country. So I listened to them and they all agreed that mindfulness is a key component of wellness, that posture and breathing are inextricably connected.
Yeah.
But they talked about behavior change, and their problem is they know health coaching works, but they don't know how to insert or inject health coaching into their practices. And I started to think, oh my goodness, health coaching, posture, breathing, all the health coaches agree. All my experience in the past with practice-based healthcare, and there are integrative physicians, functional medicine, lifestyle physicians, PTs, chiropractors, people that are all trying to help people with their wellness, but they don't know what's going on with their patients between appointments.
Yeah.
And this device could be that tool. It could be that simple tool that starts
so what
with
you're saying
posture
is
and breathing.
You're going to go through doctors.
We're going to go through doctors, and we're going to give doctors health coaches or introduce them, or doctors that have health coaches. We're going to give them the tool.
So this is a trend of, and I noticed this going through your business, is you realize life is short, and rather than going one person by one person by one person, you're just going for fast scale through the surgeries. And is that going to be later on this year? And how much money are you going to raise? Because this is the first time I've spent my time focusing on trying to get you to raise money, but we're going to go for $3 million.
Yeah, I think 3 million is the number right now.
And you've already put more than that into it yourself.
Yes, I've got about 3.2, 3.3. My wife, who serves as my CFO, will advises me weekly. I haven't gotten the weekly update.
Yeah, but it's good. So, and that's what I love about this as well. You're not asking for something to be invested in that you haven't already done yourself. You've taken the product past the risk stage. You've got it functional. You have it ready. It's now ready to go out to market. Now this is about fast scaling. And what's different about this company than the previous companies that you're going to raise money?
I think that the markets here, this plays in so many ponds, to mix a metaphor, with rising tides.
Yeah.
Whether it's the wearable, whether it's mindfulness, whether it's fitness, whether it's pain. We're filling the interstitial spaces between all of them.
You're going for the unicorn, right?
We're going for the unicorn. There's no doubt about it. Going big. And I feel like, everything that I've done heretofore has been preparation for this. I understand the continuing education model, which is key to getting doctors to adopt new things and practices to adopt new things, and giving them the information to inform their patient base. Every doctor, take a chiropractor, has 3,000 people up on the wall. He sees in files, he sees 700 a year. He sees 200 new patients a year, but they're all there for pain.
Yeah.
And we can help them. And the chiropractor himself or herself would say, hey, if I could be with that person every day, a little birdie on their shoulder to help them, I know that their behavior and that I don't like to use the word compliance, but their compliance would improve. That's what Minder is. It's for people that want to mind themselves and recognize they need help.
What do you believe the revenue can be for this company?
Billions, because it's recurring, because we want to develop long-term relationships.
So we're talking about a SaaS model, a software as a service model, which
Correct.
is a recurring revenue model where people will take the hardware, but the hardware is not the product. The hardware is merely the gateway to the product.
Correct.
The product is you have a software on your laptop that becomes your buddy that makes sure that you live a longer, happier, and more effective life.
There's a plan for you. There's a plan for me. Whether it's to eat less meat, more bean curd, to exercise more, to be more mindful, to take more breaks, but it's my individual, precise, precision plan. You have one that should be fed through you through the software, and you are helped to manage that plan with your health coach of your choice, your wellness provider.
Through artificial intelligence and machine learning, like you have all of the buttons pressed on this.
Correct. There's huge opportunities with the data. There's huge opportunity with the machine learning. But this is all, if Minder is the physical tool, the communication tool of this is a HIPAA compliant, and I happen to know about HIPAA based upon my experience, but a HIPAA compliance platform that allows texting, video communication, and the exchange of documents.
That actually brings in
the doctors.
Proper health coaches
Yes.
that can actually work alongside you. So there's also telemedicine in there as well.
Yes.
So you have everything in one place. Okay. Everybody gets it. They see where you're going. They've seen where you've come from. Everybody knows what you're raising. Expert Dojo, and these podcasts, it's always about having an investor in the room and talking about it. I'm the investor here. For me, this is a no-brainer, what you're looking to do. I want you to let everybody know how they can contact you, a little bit of maybe details on the company, the website, and how people can actually see a little bit more about
Okay.
what they're doing. And then just finish us with the greatest tip. This is only for the entrepreneurs, but the greatest tip for every entrepreneur to live a life like yours, because I believe you've ticked all of the buttons. So contact details, the website, and then just contacting you.
So email ken@obvus.me. ObVus is spelt OBVUS.
Obviously.
Very efficient. The website, obvus.me. That is going through a major revamp, so it will change in the next 4 weeks. But give us your email and we'll keep you posted. Health coaches, our training sessions are starting in October, so sign up. You have the opportunity to be set free. The average health coach in the United States is only making $48,000 a year. It's growing at a CAGR.
There's no friction here. There's no friction.
No friction. They want to be free. People want health coaching.
The doctors love it.
love
The health
the idea.
coaches love it. The people love it. We're all going to live longer and happier. And then the greatest one singular piece of advice you can give everybody to live an entrepreneurship life like you've lived.
It's got to work for you, and affirm your assumptions as soon as possible. What I mean by that, my assumptions around Minder went to, okay, will the doctors like it? Do the health coaches like it?
Right.
Do they see it? Are they interested in health coaching? Are people interested in
Don't
posture?
get too caught up in your own shit.
Right. And go out there and be, make people sign NDAs if you have to. That's what I do. And I did. And I was a little crazy about it.
Be curious.
But then totally. And then go open kimono, right? This is what I got.
You're bringing an open kimono to the man, we gotta finish
the
this
dojo.
now.
To the dojo.
We gotta finish the dojo with
Right?
an open kimono quote. I love it.
Okay, but then I still go back to that first thing. Know your customer, privity of customer. Don't let anyone ever get between you and your customer.
Beautiful. I love it. Ken, it's been a pleasure. You and me are going to do great things ongoing.
Thank you.
Investors listening, you know how to contact them. If you don't, you're mad. And then entrepreneurs listening, you've had a treat today. Thanks,
Thank
Ken.
you. Thank you very much.
And that's a wrap.
That was great.
Thanks for joining us. If you love the podcast, please empower your circle by sharing these stories. The Art of Startup War is brought to you by Expert Dojo. And remember, we invest in startups, $50,000 checks. Make sure you apply on our site if you are one of those great entrepreneurs looking to bring your company to the next level. As far as the Art of Startup War is concerned, we are back every single Tuesday at 10 a.m. So remember, check out the new episodes. If you want to find out what the investors think, check out season 1 or 2. But make sure you join us every single week.